When did you leave your family's cult? I hate that question because I think it assumes that there's some linear timeline that one day you were in a cult and the next you're out of a cult, and that is not like how life works. So like asking, when did you stop having acne? I never really stopped having acne, just it became noticeably less of a problem. And then one day when I was in my mid-20s, I looked around and I was like, wow, my skin isn't breaking out every single day and I don't feel self-conscious because I have pimples all over my face. That's kind of, to me, how living in a cult felt like. Like one day I'm in a cult, completely immersed in it, and then slowly over several years, I suddenly realized I no longer believe what my parents believe. I'm no longer actively afraid of their vindication and wrath, and I'm no longer under their control. But it didn't happen just one magic decision. One day I'm not in a cult anymore. So let's talk about some of the moments that I realized I was no longer in a cult. I love my hairstylist, but don't let her convince you to spend $30 on mousse when you can get the $4 Aussie mousse from Walmart. Not an ad. I'm just saying that I was spending $30 on mousse. I didn't have $30 to spend on mousse this month, and I was out. So I decided to spend the $4 on mousse instead of $30, and I love my hair with this mousse. I really like how my hair has been looking with this mousse. Okay, I gotta do this in my hair, we're gonna dry my hair, and then we're gonna chat about those culty realization moments. Alrighty, I love my hairstyle right now. It was a little short when it was first cut 2 weeks ago, but it's starting to grow out a little bit, and I'm obsessed. Okay, so I have to move my bangs out of the way while I put on face moisturizer. I'm almost out of this moisturizer, which is too bad because this is my favorite moisturizer, and it's also $30 because it's from Versed, so it's a little more pricey, but I'm obsessed with it. It is like the best facial moisturizer I could ask for. Alrighty, the first time that I realized I needed to fully leave my parents and get out from under my father's control is when I was 18 and I got a shorter hairstyle for really the first time. My hair had always been long, never quite to my waist level, though in some childhood pictures it does look almost that long, and it was very long. And then starting around 16, 17, I started gradually trimming it shorter and shorter because I didn't like it down to my waist. It was probably about right here. I'm thinking, if I recall correctly, I definitely got bangs and I started just to come into my own, and that made me a little too ambitious. I'll admit, I got a little too ambitious, and I let the hairstylist cut it about right above my shoulders, almost chin length, but not quite chin length. Not this short, nowhere near this short, but somewhere where I was really happy with it. And when I did that, I came home from the hair appointment, and my dad walked in the door, looked at me, and I expected him to react. I expected him to say, that's too short, please don't cut it that short next time, which I was okay with him, being negative, but I didn't think he would punish me. But he took one look at me, walked away, and didn't speak to me for 2 weeks, and that was devastating. I loved my dad a lot. I thought I had a great relationship with him at the time, and not being completely ignored in his household was really, really hard for me. And that's when I was like, I cannot wait to go away, to live away from home so that I don't have to deal with the silent treatment whenever I do something that he doesn't like, that is within my body prerogative, my hair, my clothes, that is up to me. I'm 18, 19 years old. I shouldn't be afraid of the silent treatment because I cut my hair or wear clothes that I am comfortable with. And then I went to college. I've been asking to go to college since I was 16, and I went, but I still considered myself under very much parental direction because, number one, the entire time I was in school, I went to a school that they approved of, Bob Jones University. There was only a few schools I could go to that were within my dad's approval. Baylor was not one of them, which is really funny because we were from Texas, but he told me if you go to Baylor, I will disown you, so I didn't go to Baylor. Didn't go to a state school, even though it would have been much less expensive. I went to a out-of-state Christian college, got $40,000 in debt for it. Always told me, you're not allowed to take government aid. That was a big thing. They didn't want me to take any government money. And when I was a senior close to graduating and my mom asked me how much debt I had gone into, and I said somewhere in $35,000 to $40,000, my mom was kind of upset about that. She's like, you didn't have to do that. And I was like, yeah, I did to graduate. I did not earn $40,000 while I was in school from my student jobs. How else did you expect me to go to college and pay for it? My mom said, you should have asked your dad for the money. We would have gladly lent you the money, and then you could have paid us back at little to no interest. And I thought, if you had given me the money, I would have been under your authority. I would have had to major in the education major that you wanted me to major in. I majored in journalism. They wanted me to major in education so that I could be a stay-at-home wife and mother. I would have had to do the things over the summer that they wanted. I went to China one summer. I worked at the YMCA another summer, I worked in Philadelphia for 2 summers, and I got a job at Disney World right after graduating. And I knew if I had borrowed the money from them, I wouldn't not have been able to do all that because I would have had to do a job where I could have paid them back each summer and made them pleased in order to continue letting me borrow money until I finished my education. So I specifically chose not to do that, which was another big step out from under culty parental control. While I was in school, I had one professor say to me, "You should never live at home again." And this was a Bible professor. He was a professor of theology at this college, and he was a pastor. So to have a professor who was pretty conservative tell that to me reinforced my belief that living at home would have been dangerous for me, and I would have been under very strict rules that would have made me really regret and been pressured into, dropping out of college, getting married, doing whatever my parents wanted. And so I chose to go abroad each summer, whether that was Philadelphia, which felt pretty abroad from Texas, where I grew up, or whether it was China, the other side of the entire world. Whatever I did, I just could not allow myself to live more than a week at home. I would go to Philadelphia, China, all these different places, and I would visit home for a week and then be like, well, I have a flight, I have to go, and all of that crazy stuff, which was, I didn't even spend my senior year, I did not spend Christmas break with my family. I spent it at school. So I was trying really hard to not let myself be dragged back into a lifestyle where I was dependent on my parents for my validation and when it comes to financial well-being. That's the point of today's video. I was going to talk about financial well-being. Apparently my ADHD meds haven't kicked in. When you are living with controlling parents, finances are a topic in which they control you. And you can look like you're out from under your parents, you can look like you're not in a cult, but if you are under financial control, you are not really free because any second you could have to do something to please them in order to not go, in order to have money basically. And for me, that was medical. See, the entire time I was in college, my college really didn't have a medical plan, and even if they did, it would not have covered vision. And my contacts, people don't understand how almost blind I am. I am -15 with prescription glasses, or -17, and then -14 and 15 with prescription contacts. My glasses are $700. Insurance, even today, my insurance will not cover them completely. Insurance does not cover my contacts. I have to pay them out of pocket. And with glasses, I cannot legally drive. I cannot do my work because I barely can see with my glasses. Having to pay $700 a year for either contacts or glasses is a huge financial burden on anyone, especially a college student who already does not have enough money. So every year when I would go home for a week in the summer, I would be a good kid doing exactly what my parents wanted so that we would go to the eye doctor and my parents would help me pay for my contacts because I could not afford them. Sometimes I would pay half of them, sometimes I would pay none of them because I just didn't have the money to pay my contacts out of pocket. And that is a big way that people control their children. And I want everyone to understand that. That is not really a choice. Like, that is the American medical situation, is that our insurance is dependent on the people we live with. And if we don't please those people, you won't have medical insurance. And that was my situation. So that's not the sexy answer, but that is my answer in my head when people are like, when did you leave a cult? It's easy to say, oh, I left when I was 20 and I went to college. But for me personally, the day I fully was free of a cult is when I was able to go to the doctor and use an insurance card and not have to call my mom and say, hey, do you mind helping me pay, $700 for contacts or $150 because I have to go to the ER because that happened my senior year. And I literally had to beg my mom to help me cover the $150 ER visit. So yeah, that's something that's not sexy, not fun to talk about, but insurance, medical expenses are a real reason a lot of us stay connected to toxic family. And just consider that when you think about all the kids who are connected to family and are like, why aren't you leaving? It's probably Medicare. Probably their insurance. That sucks.
We're sorry. You have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service.